Hey, thank you to all of the horror freaks and movie geeks for joining me today. And without further delay, let's get right into our meat. So, the 2018 horror slasher Hellfest, directed by Gregory Plotkin, you know, the guy who directed the acclaimed horror film Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension, has returned with another horror film that's not very good. Hellfest is about a group of kids, of course, that get stalked by a mass killer, of course, in an amusement park that is horror themed. And that's about it. Yeah, that's really it. Like, I wish I could say more. I wish I could say that these characters had arcs, that there was a backstory, that there was something. There's not. There's really not. Gosh, I wonder if I could still get a refund for my ticket. Do movies do refunds if you don't like the movie? We need to start this. We need to make that a thing. No, all jokes aside, let me start with the things that I did like about the movie, because the movie wasn't all bad. Very few movies really are all bad. There was a lot to look forward to with this movie. There was a lot of potential. I feel like a lot of horror movies that fall flat on their face these days had at least a lot of potential, at least when the trailer came out. I remember watching the trailer and thinking, wow, this is a really cool concept. I can't wait to see this killer just go around and just start massacring people left and right. And nobody takes it seriously because they all think it's a show, it's all an act. And sadly, they don't really do that. They don't go that far. And that's probably one of the biggest disappointments I have with the movie, is that it did not embrace the concept enough. But before I get into that, let's start with the stuff that I did like. Even though I did just joke about him a second ago, I think Plotkin did an amazing job directing this movie. I really liked the color palette that he used. It reminded me a lot of Suspiria. There was a lot of purples, a lot of blues, a lot of deep reds. And he really worked hard to capture that kind of ambience of being at a haunted house, or being in a corn maze, or just Halloween in general. It was a very, very visually striking, very colorful movie. And that's not something that you can say about a lot of horror films. Most horror films these days have a very muted color palette, or it's just there's not a lot of creativity. But here there is. I can tell the art department did a really good job in setting up shots and whatnot. And most of the movie's budget was clearly spent on the set design and on the directing, because a lot of these a lot of the mazes, a lot of the sets and haunted houses used in the movie looked really authentic. They looked really well done. This looked like the coolest haunted house I had ever seen. I wanted to go to that park. I kept telling my friend, wow, I wish this was a real place, so we could go and actually experience this. It was just so much fun. I had a blast just watching the movie, just taking in all of the skeletons, all of the fake corpses, all of the real corpses. We'll get to that in just a minute. And all of the film's scary and suspenseful scenes took place in these corn mazes and these haunted houses, so that's to be commended. This movie really got me in the Halloween spirit, even though it's still a month away, and I can't wait to get out and start going to some haunted houses. Hopefully they don't end up like this one. And the death sequences in the movie, they were also very impressive. There were a couple that really got under my skin and were really hard to watch, but in the best way possible. But during the opening, though, I was immediately questioning all of that. The first death in the movie is so bloodless and so, meh. There was no pizzazz, there was no nothing to it. I had to check my ticket just to make sure that this movie was rated R, because I thought it was rated PG-13 for a second. And no offense to, horror movies and directors and people who like PG-13 horror films. There's some really good ones, like all the Insidious movies are PG-13 and they're really well crafted. But anytime a slasher movie, like Happy Death Day, for example, that movie had no gore, no pizzazz to any of it. Some of the murders were inventive, but they were all off screen. We didn't get to see them happen. And so I was really afraid that this movie was going to go down that route. Luckily, it did not. And the second death that we got was really intense, really brutal, just real good quality gore, and some really good suspenseful sequences. There was a particular sequence with a needle and an eye. And I don't like eye stuff. Anytime I see eye being like gouged or whatever in a horror movie. It just makes me really uncomfortable, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. But there was a suspense in that scene, and the guy was trying to fight back, and it was a really good death sequence. I really had a lot of fun. Once the movie got into the murders, and we started seeing all these cool deaths, then the movie got like exponentially better. And I'm not usually the kind of guy who likes to see gore and just meaningless deaths in a movie, but I really felt like this movie did it justice. And since the cast was so small, they were able to do a whole lot and not be gratuitous about it. A lot of the murders that in the movie make good use of like the props and the scenery and the haunted houses that were in them. A lot of the murders were committed with using props from the haunted house, and I thought that was really clever. That was really inventive. That was a really cool way to do that. The fake out decapitation scene that we got like towards the end of the movie, that was pretty fun, even though nothing about it made any sort of sense. The scene itself, though, was really well directed, suspenseful, and I felt like it had some of the best acting from that character in the whole movie. And the two leads in the film are really good too. Amy Forsyth and the other actress, I can't remember her name. Whenever the film was just the two of them, and it wasn't all like kill, kill, kill and horror, it was actually kind of good. They had some really good dialogue, and they had a good chemistry and friendship. And I really like it when horror movies, the two leads in a horror movie are not a couple, or they're not a romantic interest. I get really tired of seeing like love stories shoved into films for no other reason other than just to have some conflict or drama there. But no, they were two best friends who were growing apart because one of them went to college, and that was really believable. That rang true. They had a really nice little scene in the bathroom in the middle of the movie that I thought was really powerful. It was really good. It was something to get behind, other than the other obnoxious characters and the faceless killer that was just stalking them the whole movie. I thought they did a really good job, and their characters definitely had the most emotional and dramatic moments of the film. I think that I would have liked to have seen more. I hope there's an extended cut or deleted scenes that show more of that. That was really good. Alright, let's start with the things that I didn't like. The characters sucked. They sucked so much. Oh my gosh, it was so painful to watch them half the time, and not in the good way. Gosh, they were so obnoxious, they were so in your face, and every 5 seconds they were making some sort of sex joke or gesture, and it got so exhausting to sit through. Me and my friend started counting the amount of times that they made a sex joke, and I honestly was ready for the killer to just start coming in there and slaughtering all of them. I was done. I could not stand any of the other characters outside the two leads. And that's the shit I hate the most in a horror movie, is when a horror movie makes me root for someone's death. I want to feel involved. I want to feel like emotionally drained when somebody gets killed in a movie like this. I want them to be like, oh no, please don't kill them. Oh no, gosh, no. See, that makes it a lot harder to sit through. It makes it a lot harder to watch. And directors nowadays just don't grasp that concept. I don't understand what the issue is with screenwriters nowadays. Is that they think that every single teenager or young adult in America just makes constant sex jokes and talks like they're on MTV. I don't get it. It's infuriating, to be honest. And also, there were just no surprises in this movie at all. I literally predicted every single thing that was going to happen. Me and my friend who I went with the movie with, we pretty much got the beginning, the ending, and the attitude, and the order in which everyone would get killed. We pretty much nailed it every single one. And when movies are predictable and I can tell what's happening and I can predict what's happening and then it ends up being true, it's just like, what was the point? What was the point of this movie if it was just gonna be this cliche, formulaic throwback? I mean, I get that that's what they were going for. They wanted to do like a classic throwback slasher film. They've been doing a lot of those lately though, and it's getting kind of old. Like Happy Death Day. We at least got some drama. We got some shit, emotional shit to get behind. The characters weren't all fucking obnoxious as hell. The lead character went through growth. There was development. There was plot. There was something. Here, there's like practically nothing. The crux of the drama in this movie is that the two best friends are growing apart and that they're gonna go to Spain together. That's it. That's all that we have going for these characters in this movie. I don't know. I was just taken out of the movie too many times by all the dumb characters and the dumb logic. God, let's get into that. Shoot. The logic of this movie was just so dumb. There were so many things happening that was just like, why is this happening? Why are you doing this? I was, Like, for example, it takes entirely too long for the park to realize that there's a killer on the loose. Like, the first guy who gets killed, he gets killed in an employee locker room. His brain and skull gets smashed all over the floor, and nobody realizes that. Did nobody go into that locker room the entire rest of the night? I don't understand how that happened. That was so dumb. And then also, during the fake-out decapitation scene, the park just so happens to have a fake head with the exact same haircut as one of the characters who's getting strapped into the guillotine. That was so dumb. I was just like, wow, that was contrived and stupid and pointless. It was all just so we could get that fake out, like, scare, or like, oh my gosh, she really got killed, and the main characters were like rushing towards her and they saw her head drop, and then they're like, oh my god, no, oh, nope, it's just a joke. Like the rest of this movie. It was just a big joke. It was just one long, stupid, big joke. And then also, when the killer is chasing the two final leads into the maze at the end of the movie, he comes across like a real axe, like a real big, like legit axe. This being used as a prop in this haunted house. A dangerous weapon, a real life dangerous weapon was being used as a prop in this haunted house. And then when the main characters go to look for something to defend themselves with, everything that they come across is fake and a prop. So like, the killer had like the insane luck to pick out the one real weapon that was in this whole park. Wait, no, actually, it's not the only weapon. Like, the first couple of kills that the killer gets is with this really long ice pick that this guy was using to make snow cones with. Like, why does this guy have a knife in this park that's this big? Is there no other way to make snow cones? Do they not have smaller knives? Do they not have, like, pre-made snow cones they just give out to people? Now that I'm thinking about it, this park is probably the most dangerous park in the whole world, and I wouldn't want to go anywhere near there on Halloween night. God, any random person could just come in and just start butchering people. Gosh, there's just the logic in the characters and everything in this movie. It was just so infuriatingly dumb. I'm speechless, you know. It's very rarely that when I talk about a movie that I get speechless like this, but this movie just did so much to me. Oh my gosh, my brain is like hurting just thinking about how dumb this movie was. And then Tony Todd was just completely wasted. Like, if you're a Tony Todd fan and you go into this movie looking for some Tony Todd action, don't even bother. Like, for real. He has like 1-2 minute scene, and that's it. And then he's gone. That's all you get from him. I mean, his voiceover was in a couple of the rides, which I did think was a nice, cute little nod or homage to Final Destination 3. He also voiced the devil roller coaster in that movie, in addition to being in the first two. I thought that was pretty cool. And another cool little trivia reference bit. Amy Forsyth and Bex Taylor-Klaus. Amy Forsyth was originally supposed to be playing Bex Taylor-Klaus's part in Scream, Audrey, the Scream TV show. And Audrey ended up being recast. Amy Forsyth couldn't do the part for whatever reason, and so ended up going to Bex Taylor-Klaus. I thought that was a pretty cool thing to see the two of them. Like, I saw her name pop up on screen. I'm like, where do I know that name from? I'm like, oh wait, she's supposed to be in the Scream TV show. And going back to what I said earlier about the dumb logic and the just stupid things that were happening, the ending was really lame and really super predictable too. Like, I knew as second as the girls left the killer laying on the ground that he was gonna get away. He got stabbed in the gut with an ice pick and he still somehow managed to just go away. And then it gets even better. He goes home and then puts his mask and some souvenirs from the park into this like lockbox serial killer collection, whatever thing he's got going on. I did think that part was kind of cool. We got to see different masks from the different parks that he had visited. I really wish they had put like a hockey mask or something in there. That would have been really cool. You didn't have to put Jason's hockey mask, but just some like generic cheap knockoff, like the masks that they used in the poster for Friday the 13th Part 5. Like, do something like that. That would have been fun. But, and then this guy's completely okay, by the way. He's not acting like he's just been stabbed in the gut at all. And then he goes into the living room of his house, and then he finds his daughter asleep, and then she goes over and hugs him and is like, "Daddy, what did you bring me?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got you a stuffed animal from a person I just murdered tonight." That would have been really cool if he had actually said that. And she had been like, "Ooh, cool, can I come next time?" And then she's like his sidekick or something. That would have been fun. I could have gotten behind that. Shot. The whole movie probably would have been redeemed if the movie had ended like that. Gosh, Hollywood needs me. Like, I have way better ideas, I feel like, than half the crap that I see in the movies. It's like, this movie had so much potential. It had an actor that I really liked. It had 2 actors I really liked. It had an interesting premise. It had all the makings of a really camp-tastic, glorious slasher throwback. And instead, it's just this really generic, dumb, so infuriatingly dumb horror movie, and I just didn't give a shit about any of the characters. And then they had the balls to try to set up a sequel at the end, and I was not here for that. I am like, nope, I'm out. So many movies today just piss me off so much that they spend so much time setting up sequels, or that every movie has to end on a cliffhanger for another sequel. And I'm like, you're really rolling the dice here, assuming that this movie's gonna be a success enough for it to have a sequel. And judging by the box office and the reviews that are coming in so far, yeah, I don't think we're getting a sequel to this anytime soon. So we're gonna have this movie where we have this faceless killer. They don't even ever show his face. Like, we never get to see who this killer is. There is no backstory. There is no connection to the main characters. There is no reasoning behind why the killer is doing this. And look, I get that in a lot of movies, it's what the motive... Not having a motive and what you don't see is scarier, and it's all about the unknown, and it's like, ooh, it's just this random guy came in to start butchering people. I get that, but no, this movie doesn't earn that. This movie never even shows us the killer's face. We never even get a good look at him. We know nothing about him. It's literally a faceless killer and faceless victims and frickin' faceless movie. That's what this movie is. It's just a bunch of wasted potential and just a nonsense, just utter nonsense. There's so many things, so many choices, so many logical gaps, so much shit that just doesn't make any sense. And I was I was mad, and I was disappointed, and I was sad when I left the movie. At least the chili fries I had were pretty good. Yeah. So that was Hellfest. Let me know down below what you guys thought. Let's start the conversation now. Did you guys like the movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was a hot mess with a bunch of wasted potential like I did? Let me know down below. And in the meantime, you guys, as always, please take care of yourselves, and I will be seeing you again real soon. Now, if you excuse me, I have some business to attend to.